Come up and join us and lead us.
Welcome everyone. Yes, welcome to the town of Potter. My name's Len Listenby. I am the supervisor here, and I'm here to introduce our congressman. But first, I'd like to invite all of you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, thank you all for coming. Biggest crowd in this room seen in quite a while.
It's all you, Supervisor.
Congressman Tom Reed.
All right, well, thank you. Great to see everybody. Thanks for coming out. Thank you, Supervisor here in Potter, to open up the doors and hosting us. And what a great community you have. So rightfully should be proud. We were talking a little bit earlier about Flint Creek. We won't give away any secrets, but if you ever want to catch a little trout, Flint Creek's the place to go. Don't put that out on Facebook. So this is our third town hall today. Appreciate everybody coming out and having a conversation about what's going on in the area, what's going on in the state, and obviously what's going on in the country. And so drinking a lot of coffee as usual. And I'll just tell you, some good news in the sense the government's open. That is good. We got that taken care of. Thought that was a good thing. Bad news is we got 21 days to get something done. And I will tell you, we've been part of, I think, the only, actually it is the only bipartisan group that is meeting on a regular basis and actually trying to get to a solution to this immigration border security situation that is causing this gridlock and this fight in Washington right now. I was proud to go to the White House a week and a half ago. With my colleagues on the Democratic side. We had about 20 of us, just under 20 of us, equally divided. Spent an hour and a half with the President and the Vice President in the Situation Room. And I will tell you, one of the things that came out of there from me was it reinforced the idea we have to sit down and we have to talk to each other. And we have to listen to each other. And you know, we do these town halls, that's why we do these. We not only do it in DC, we want to do it here so that we can actually have a conversation. And hey, how are you? Come on in. Excellent. Come on in. Forward. To find where that common ground is. And as we've had at the two other town halls that we've already had today, you know, it was amazing when we had the conversation. We started off here, and to a large degree, we got to here on this issue. So maybe that will happen here again in this room. But you know, this is fundamentally about border security. This is about an opportunity on immigration reform when it comes to things like the dreamers and the folks that are in temporary protected status. To put that in perspective, that's about 1.5 million folks that we're talking about that potentially could be helped as a result of this situation. So we'll get into it, I'm sure, more. The other thing we wanted to highlight to everybody, last week I was humbled to be selected to be the Republican leader for Social Security across the country. So I'll be responsible for Social Security. Well, appreciate that. Vote of confidence. but I can tell you.
What's that mean?
So I am on Ways and Means. We have the subcommittee of Social Security, and so that is the responsibility in the House to oversee Social Security. Now, obviously, we're not in the majority, so the chairman of Social Security on the Democratic side is a really good gentleman by the name of John Larson from Connecticut. Just a solid guy. We've worked together for years. We just spent over the last week trying to get together, bring the subcommittee together, bring everybody in a room, try to get to know each other a little bit deeper. And I'm really optimistic about what we can do there. Good news for us in the district, obviously, that puts us in direct contact with the Social Security Administration. So not as in the past, if you ever have any problem with any federal bureaucracy, don't hesitate to call us. But in particular with Social Security, we're getting to know the administration inside and out very closely. And so if you can help anyone with Social Security benefits, Social Security disability, SSI, call us, and we can hopefully maybe break some bureaucratic red tape to move things along.
Does that committee also do Medicare?
No, so Medicare is different. Medicare is through the Center of Medicaid and Medicare Services, so that's a different area. Now, our committee does have a role on Medicare, so we do oversee it, but I'm not in charge of that committee. So, with Social Security, I'm very eager to kind of have a short-term, long-term commitment that John and I think, share in regards to what we want to tackle. We want to make it short-term a much more effective agency, using technology to process benefits, take on these backlogs that we see, and get technology deployed in the administration so that beneficiaries get a better experience and more effective experience with the administration. Long-term, obviously, we're committed, and this is where we come at it from a common position. I believe in the promise of Social Security, and so we both have committed to each other that as we go through the next few years, that we are looking for the long-term solvency of Social Security to keep it here for generations to come. So we're coming at it from a common position. We have different ideas, potentially, on how to solve that, and we're not ruling out, as I told John, I want all ideas on the table. I don't care what they are, where they come from. Let's have the conversation, and then as we get down the road, we have come up with something that is a bipartisan solution to Social Security withstand the test of time.
The backlog that you're talking about, it's not Social Security itself, it's SSI.
It's Social Security disability is a huge backlog area in particular, but then there's also just the timeliness of processing. You know, just for an example, I just getting into this role and getting to know of it. Do you know the computer software code that they deploy in Social Security? Do you know any idea what they use?
C++.
That's COBOL. IRS is Fortran.
Still good.
Just so you're aware.
Yeah.
And SSA is COBOL. So that should tell you something. You know, I don't even know. Chelsea, do you know what COBOL is?
That makes me crazy.
Yeah.
It was created before you were born. It's an old computer software program, and as you talk to people, you know, one of the things they say it seriously too. It's kind of funny. You know, they say, you know, the good thing about this, even though it's so old, is that it is so old that people don't even know what the code is. So they actually can't crack it. So anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at now, not just there, but that type of efficient use of it. So stay tuned. Let's see what happens there, but looking forward to the opportunity with John in particular to be a voice for Social Security. That being said, you got some written questions?
I do, and I want to mention one thing.
You're going to introduce yourself.
I did not introduce myself. I expected to do that. I'm Allison. I'm Competition Director. This is Mark, who works out of our Geneva office over here. And just to put a little plug for Potter, I'm a Marcus Whitman grad.
Cameron's with us now.
Cameron is our intern in the Geneva office. I forgot about him. I apologize, Cameron. He's going to Hobart and Smith. So, but putting a plug for Potter, I'm a Marcus Whitman grad. I grew up in Gorham. I'm sorry, but Flint Creek runs through there too. And Potter's got the mock, so you can't beat that. But anyway, so let's dive right into the questions. A few different topics, but $5.7 billion wall. We're talking about infrastructure. This is a little bit of a lengthy question. Who asked this question? Maybe I can have them please tell. Yes, sir. You didn't put your name out. What's your name?
Probably me, Bill Roby.
Bill Roby. Do you want to stand up and maybe ask
Just say,
directly?
be comfortable, whatever.
Sure, I'm not
Good to see
sure
you again, Bill.
exactly which one, but $5.7 billion for the wall. Kind of came out of nowhere as far as I can tell. The president's budget had $1.6 billion for a 65-mile wall at a high priority area. The Senate version of HR 695 didn't have any money since it was a continuing resolution. New starts generally are not in continuing resolutions. Next day, $5.7 billion shows up, and obviously you voted for it. We've gone through all this other stuff. So when I was in government for 40 years, major construction projects had to have a design cost basis of about 30%, at least somewhat mature, before you went for billions of dollars in construction money. So it's just, emotions aside, you know, just the congressional oversight and requirements for major construction projects. Just, can you explain?
Yeah.
what's going on?
Well, so appreciate that, and you have firsthand experience. And I think we talked before about maybe some government procurement reform and things like that. So let's continue that conversation from going forward from today. So what we're talking, the 5.7 billion, and you do hear a bunch of different numbers. You hear 1.6, 1.2. I've heard some folks advocating for. We voted, I think there was 25 billion previously on some bills that came through the House and through the Senate. Both sides, members have voted for those levels of funding and things like that. But the 5.7 billion of what's on the table, and this is really important, and this happened twice already today, and it happened in the Situation Room with Democratic members of Congress, that there's a mindset or an understanding that the president's advocating with the 5.7 billion, 2,000 plus miles of wall on the southern border. That is not what this 5.7 billion represents. And the president has moved off in that meeting. I've seen movement, and there's a letter from OMB that we could get you that details exactly where that $5.7 billion is going to, that what they're advocating for. It's about 220 plus or minus miles of actual wall, if you want to call it that. We're trying to not utilize that word. Some folks, that has become a very politically toxic word if we want to really try to solve this problem. And so even in the last meeting, there was an encouragement not to use that term. So it is what it is. It's structures, it's barriers, it's fencing, it's whatever you want to call it. But it's about 200 miles of that. There's other resources to be deployed at ports of entry. It's other resources to be deployed out of that 5.7 billion for people, not only for patrol and control type of employment responsibilities, but also processing folks at the border, processing the claims as people come through the border, asylum and things like that is also in there. But it's also like our airports. It's our port of entries where ships are coming in. And it's also some technology that would be deployed in all areas of surveillance technology, like drones and other smart 21st century technology. Yes?
Is there any breakdown on that?
Yeah, there is. We have, I don't know if we have it with us, but there's a letter from OMB. That's the professional, the government office, if you would, Office of Management.
Is that available?
It's public. Yeah, it's out there.
Was it in the president's budget request?
This was a recent letter that they updated just specifically
So it's
for
not
that.
it wasn't in the president's budget.
I forget off the top of my head what was in the president's budget for the football. 1.6 last year.
Was it
5.6.
Yeah.
Budget request.
Yeah. I don't know what the budget request number was.
So there's a number of different projects. Some are major construction projects, others
Some
are other things.
Some are not.
Do they have design cost estimates associated with it?
Yep, and so they have starts.
Why is it in a continuing resolution that normally does not have new starts? Presumably these are new starts.
It's not in the CR. It's not in the CR. Are you talking about the CR for the 21 days?
No, the CR on the 20th of December,
Okay,
that HR 695, the Senate passed without the
The UC.
5.7 whatever.
Yeah.
And it wasn't clear to everybody exactly what the 5.7 in that amendment that the House had on the 20th.
and that's where the difference was. Because we were going to take the CR, and I was supportive of the CR coming over from the, CR, that's a continuing resolution. That just meant we were just going to keep the status quo, keep the lights on, come back after the holidays, and then by February 8th, come up with a solution on it. And so that's kind of what we were intending to do. Then what happened is the leadership, the speaker, the people that control the floor decided we don't want to do that in the House. We are going to go, and we're actually going to go for the border wall, some funding for the border wall, quote unquote. President asked for it at the end of the day and things like that.
Request that came
And
after
so,
later.
what's that?
Did the OMB request then come that day? Or
No. OMB came in afterwards as we went through the last
So this was
35 days.
inserted before the OMB.
No, that wasn't inserted in anything. It was actually, that was the
amendment
number that was coming.
To the bill, right?
When it came back over from the House, and then we voted it. Yes.
The House
And
inserted.
then the breakdown came out. OMB was asked to specify exactly what that 5.7 billion was going to be.
That's a bit of an unusual process, isn't it?
Well, this whole thing is unusual. So this is not how we're supposed to run the trains. Just so everyone's clear. I agree with you.
That's my concern.
Yeah.
Is Congress running the trains like Congress is supposed to run?
Absolutely not, and that's where I totally agree. This whole process is so frustrating, and it's something that it should be avoided, and it should not be the way we do business as a country. And I can tell you, we have been part of those voices for the last 40 days to say, what are we doing? Where is the leadership? Where is the adult leadership that will say, okay, Nancy Pelosi in the House, Mitch McConnell in the Senate, what's the deal? What's the package you guys want to do?
However, that was Ryan that brought that one up with 5.7, so you
Totally
can't
disagree
really
with
blame it on Pelosi.
Well,
At this point.
when we got into the situation, but when Ryan did it, I told Paul, I said, Paul, this is not the way we should be doing this.
Which
But,
voted for.
well, of course, because I don't get the opportunity. See, that was another misunderstanding.
No.
But I support the actual the border security. So why wouldn't I vote yes if I believe in what this is?
Because you were going to shut the government.
No, no. The hope was that it would bounce back over to the theory was, this was the theory that happened, that it would go back to the Senate would pick it up, and boom, get signed into law. That didn't happen. Yeah.
Thanks,
I'm
Mitch.
sorry, just a point of clarification,
Yeah.
back up a little bit. You said you were in the Situation Room and it's bipartisan delegation.
Only bipartisan Democrat.
Yep, discussing with the president and the vice president this 5.7 billion, and you guys had a breakdown of how it would actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, and that this included additional funds for staff to process asylum claims, is that right?
We're
So
stepping in
has there
personnel.
been an acknowledgement on the part of the administration that these folks who are arriving do in fact have a right to ask for asylum?
We absolutely recognize that right, and I believe the president recognizes that right, and in the resources that they're looking for, the ability to apply for asylum is respected and
Well,
protected.
I wish you would be more vocal about that, because I think the reason this word wall got out there was the idea that they should be kept away and not allowed to ask for that.
Yeah, see, I don't, and whoever is carrying that message, who's ever amplifying that message, is absolutely inaccurate and absolutely wrong, if that's substantively what they feel, because there's not a reasonable legislator in Washington, D.C. that is advocating for the abolishment of asylum status in
I'm not
America.
saying that there's a legislature, I'm saying the White House is getting a contrary message, and that's what I'm saying.
Asylum has always been something
Oh, I
that even
know
the
that.
White House, and I've never heard Steve Miller, I heard Steve Miller's name, advocate that asylum should be banned in America's
Well,
immigration
I'm
policy.
asking them, pay attention to them.
Well,
Why are
because,
they being detained at the border, regardless of whether they ask when they go to a port of entry or they go someplace else?
because in order to go through the asylum process, you have to apply and go through the process.
Once
You
you're
just
on
can't
the
walk.
land of the United States.
You just can't walk through the border. I mean, say, I'm seeking asylum and, okay, we can't do anything.
But according to the asylum laws, yes, you can.
Well, no, you process them. You detain them, you hear their case, you listen to their case, you see if they have legitimate grounds for asylum. Many do not qualify for that standard. Many are seeking asylum in a way that's not,
Why are
trying
they
to
still
work
in
around it.
detention then?
That's the problem. That's why this border security proposal includes processing these folks more effectively and efficiently.
Congressman, I just have to say, I'm heartened to hear that you support the asylum process, and as you indicate, perhaps in the realm of public discourse, certain voices have been amplified or misinterpreted. I hope you'll elevate your voice for the right to request for asylum, and I hope you'll be very clear about that.
Appreciate that. We'll scream as loud as we possibly can. If that question is posed or an opportunity presents itself, that asylum is something that should be reinforced, protected, and anyone, and I have not heard it, just so we're clear, I have not heard it uttered in the chambers of either the House or Senate or in the White
I don't
House to
think it's
ban
coming from
asylum.
the legislature, I believe you on that.
Okay.
You talked about this, that it's not about a wall, it's about border security and this various packages of digital surveillance and fences and whatever, except that there's absolutely no indication that Trump himself does not in fact mean a wall. He tweeted today, again, about a wall. That is what he is talking about.
Okay.
So how do you gauge your chance of success if you appear to be on a completely different page than the head of your party and the person who would ultimately have to sign something into law? I mean, he continues to talk in a very, very clear way about a wall.
Okay.
And so I don't see how, and also this idea, A, that he even understands the asylum process is laughable. But he seems to have a much different understanding than what you have. And so how do you see this actually working out if you are on a different page than the person who ultimately has to sign something into law?
So when he uses the term wall, and when he's advocating for the 5.7 billion, I have personally heard him, and I see in black and white from OMB what wall he's referring to. He's referring to that 221 mile. I would agree with you, because wall has become such a politically divisive and toxic word, people hear that, and I've seen it
And
already
there's a
today.
reason why that word has become politically toxic and divisive.
Isn't that his intention,
What's that?
to use that divisive word?
Build the
I disagree
wall,
with
crime
you.
will fall.
I'm just saying, his own
I
words
think his intention
are
is,
much different than what you
and
said.
this is where if we're gonna question each other's motivation, that may not be as productive as recognizing, when I hear him talk about the loss of life, the criminal activity that is associated with border security, I will honestly attest to the fact that he sincerely is concerned about those American citizens that are adversely impacted from that criminal activity. That is a sincere, it is a sincere, in my humble opinion, my perception of the president, listening to him person to person, eyeball to eyeball. He cares about those individuals and their families that have lost loved ones because of border security issues.
Except we don't get to talk to him face to face, eyeball to eyeball. We just get to hear the rhetoric he pushes out on Twitter, which gives you a much, much, much different sense of his level of compassion for people that are not himself or one of his family members. And again, we could argue. I'm just saying, it does seem, regardless, that you, like, if your bipartisan, group was actually in charge, it seems like negotiations could be quite successful in coming up with a comprehensive border security package. But I feel you're about to waste a lot of time, because that's not going to be what he would be willing to sign into law, or what your colleagues on the Senate side, namely Mitch McConnell, would be willing to put through.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think that you're right. I just suspect you're not.
And you may be 100% correct in that. And I don't go into this in any way to raise expectation that somehow there's going to be a kumbaya moment over the next 21 days. And people are going to say, you know what, the president has a point, Mitch McConnell has a point, Nancy Pelosi has a point, and there's a kumbaya moment. The chances of that are very low. You're
Although
absolutely
apparently
right.
there was quite a kumbaya moment right before Christmas, where you were all singing Christmas carols on the Senate floor when you were about to, and I realize not the Senate, but because everyone was happy we had this agreement, we're not going to shut the government down, we're going to continue negotiating, and the rug got pulled out from under you.
Absolutely, and that was very frustrating. And I share with you, and I expressed my disagreement with that play call. I thought it was a dumb play call, shouldn't have been exercised. But the reality is it happened. And now what we do is we're here in this situation for 21 days. So what do? Do we just say, let's not try, let's not engage in the conversations, let's not try to be part of a solution here? I believe that's my responsibility, that's my opportunity that I can be. And I can tell you that if people would just get in a room like here today, express their differences, but actually come to understand each other. Because what I'm not hearing anybody saying, we don't need border security in America.
Because
Nobody's saying that, right?
nobody has ever said that ever.
Right. So then if we agree that border security needs to be there, then the second question is, do you agree that the border is 100% functioning and effective at keeping us secure and processing people coming out? I've never heard that today.
It's never gonna be 100%.
Okay, not 100%. Do you believe we can do better than what it is today? And so there are problems that have been in existence and developing over the last 10 to 20 years. This is not new. This has been around for quite some time. And so if we believe in border security, if we believe we can do better at the border, then why don't we then say, okay, how do we do this? And that's where we tend to find our time and effort that I utilize in the office to do that.
But why is it a crisis then, if it's been going on for 20 years?
Yeah.
That's why
Like the normal order of business in the Congress, in funding, improvements in DHS, CBP, ICE, all the other different things that go into it. Why can't that normal order get us to where we need to go. to
Caravan.
continue to-
Thank you, I was just gonna say.
Can I ask you something?
Either of you know where the line
Can
item
you provide the letter from OMB on your
on
Facebook
the
or
five
website or
point
something?
seven billion
Make
is?
sure.
Sorry, the OMB letter, yeah,
All the
yes, I will make sure, that,
I
I think that's
just
what
a
you're looking
quick
for.
comment, how will we access?
Can you get
It's
to
on
a
our,
place, if the Senate gets to a place and Congress and the House gets to a place, as it did before Trump did the turnaround at Christmas, and something passes in both places, and Trump still says, I don't like it because I want this. Can you just, at that point in time, get Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi to take it to the desk, let it sit for the 10 days, not including Sundays, veto it, and override the veto law?
There you go. Well, if we can get that solution and go forward,
That's
love
Mitch
this.
McConnell.
Let's-
Possible, right?
Now, what that would mean is Congress,
Mitch.
Congress needs to do its job.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. And this isn't gonna pass with 218 Republican votes. This is not gonna pass with 218 Democratic votes. What will get there, because you're gonna need 60 votes in the Senate, so you inherently are gonna need a bipartisan deal to get this done. So then the question is, what is that? And I've been in so many conversations in the last 40 days with some very vocal Democratic members who are like adamant, not a penny. But they're like, you know what, wink, wink, but I'd be willing to support this. And that is very good. That could be
But then
very
Mitch will
good.
say, oh, but Donald Trump won't sign it, so why do I want to take something to the desk if Donald Trump won't sign it? That gets frustrating.
And this is one of my nightmare scenarios, other than a shutdown 21 days from now, is what we get into is what we will, the height of political theater, I thought couldn't get any higher, but it got higher in the last 40 days. And I can see it get even higher even after 21 days. Because now you're gonna be into a situation where, what are we gonna be passing, 24-hour continuing resolutions?
I don't think
At a
anybody's
time.
gonna put up with that, to tell you the truth.
But if that's the
I
process.
really wanna have people out in the street if this happens.
Or 24 hours at a time. You know, we keep the lights on for 24 hours a day. Amen, amen. But to me, that is a real possibility. People negotiating in a room and they're like, we need some more time. Okay, we'll give you 24 hours. This is how this lunacy has got to end. Oh, he was next.
Steve,
Well,
yeah.
well, I just wanted to continue my remarks about, do you know that Trump said, if it was today or yesterday, that if Congress doesn't give him a fair deal, he'll shut the government down or declare a national emergency?
That's.
Yeah, saw that, and I
And
definitely
Let
disagree.
me ask you this. Please explain to us what you think the president and your party has gained by this month-long shutdown, other than hurt hundreds of thousands of people.
So I'm not here to say that we gained anything. I am saying this is not the way to do business. This is wrong, and it's something that if I had the ability to control levers of government, this is not what we would be doing. I would be sitting in a room with people that are adamantly opposed to my position, who may even personally hate me, but at the end of the day recognize we have a job to do, and we're not leaving until we get it done. That to me is what we need to do.
I listened to you and, you're on Facebook Live, in Veteran,
Okay.
Millport.
Mhm.
And the question was asked on whether or not you would vote for a law that forces the Congress, and the government not to shut down. And you said no, but yeah. Have you thought about that further?
Yeah.
To the point where, I mean,
I think, yeah, and what the question is,
where you
there's this,
force Congress to stay in session until they get it done.
and what, if I'm hearing what you were saying, because there was a couple different questions that we've had, but there was this a proposal to never have another shutdown again. It was to just approve spending, and there was no shutdown, and.
That's how you answered it, but I'm not sure that that's how the question was. I think
Okay.
the question was to find some way to make a law that would force Congress to stay in session and get it done without shutting the government.
Yeah, and I'm open to, if that's a different question than what I heard before. But if there's some mechanism that you can come up with, I'd love to have that input
Not
and
me,
figure it out.
but-
No, I mean, or, well, you guys, I mean, you're also folks that can, other people, other members, other folks that can.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
but